My name's Waldman, and I am a photographer, and I consider myself a photo artist. I create one-of-a-kind pieces via photographs, and they're kind of my jumping-off point for making works of art. In college, I was primarily, the fine art degree was in drawing and painting, and I took a journalism class, and it involved a darkroom class. And I kind of took off from there. I was intrigued with seeing images come up, and then I was able to be in control of what it was. Even though it was a realistic photograph, I could change things and make things happen with photographs. So it took off from there. And I worked full-time, so I didn't have time to paint and draw a lot. So I was always shooting photographs and looking for different images and recording things and thinking later I'll do a painting of that. And later didn't happen, but the photography did. Funny, with the photographs, I've tried to get into different galleries and shows with photographs, and I've had curators say, you need to go down the street and go to the photo gallery. This happened in Seattle. And when I went for an interview to have them look at my portfolio, they said, no, you need to go down and talk to the art galleries. So I felt like I was stuck in the middle, and I thought, okay, well, I'm using photographs to get there, but they're not, that sometimes they're realistic imagery, but occasionally I'll take things and cut them into strips, add different colors, or sometimes add a painting behind the strips, and ends up being a collage. And it stemmed from having a darkroom that I could not print larger than a 16 by 20, but I wanted to create larger mural type pieces, so I'd print several 16 by 20s, cut them up, put them together, and then end up with a 5-foot piece. A lot of white flowers. I was at a tulip garden in Skagit Valley, and all these people are flocked around all the beautiful color photographs, and I'm off shooting anything white, everything white, because I can make any color I want. I find the oil pretty fun. It's fascinating, and I didn't realize that it takes weeks for it to dry. It depends. I sometimes put it on fairly thick and work with it, but I will come in and burnish some of this out. And it's good to sometimes walk away from it for a while, because some of it does start to dry, and that way I can layer over different layers and all. Occasionally work on a couple different pieces at a time, especially if I'm working with a particular color. I'll go back into another piece, or I'll have a couple different pieces out and play between the two with particular color. And it frees me up from thinking about one thing, and then I go to something different. It's kind of just this break. And this piece, this stemmed from an accident in the darkroom where it's a fiber-based paper, and not this particular piece, but another one that I did. I was squeegeeing the excess water off where I notoriously let prints rinse too long, and the fiber base was fairly mushy almost. And so I squeegeed it, but I put a big old crease right through the center, and I thought, what am I going to do? So wadded up, threw it away, and cleaning up darkroom later, I took this wadded, mushed up photograph back out and thought, oh, should I reprint this before I ditch all the chemicals? And I thought, no, I don't know. Well, I stretched it out, started looking at it, and I thought, this is pretty cool. And it didn't rip. The cotton fibers are so strong in it, it didn't crack. So I wadded it up some more, and I flattened it out. Wadded it up again, flattened it out. And it's actually the texture of a leather glove. And I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. So actually, as it started to dry, I worked it with my fingers and pulled parts of the photo up and then started creasing it in particular places that I wanted. And so I wasn't sure with this piece if it would curl like a fiber-based print usually curls up, but it didn't. As I kept working it, it took, I worked on it probably 45 minutes, so most of the water was gone, and then I could actually see where ridges were trying to stay. And so now I'm purposely shooting leaves, florals, I've done rocks, and I'm pursuing those and then creasing and trying to think of things. So from this darkroom accident has stemmed out something I'm doing on purpose now. And what's fun is on the oil with this, with the crevasses and everything, it's almost like staining. It's around there. It's a process of taking, putting it on, taking it off, and I sometimes leave more color, but it's almost like applying like a stain to wood. And I'll work through this whole piece where I'll do different colors on top of each other, and then it'll have this whole, even in the darker areas, it'll have a kind of a neat marbled effect. And it almost looks three-dimensional, especially when you get it upright. You look at it and think, what is that? And it's actually, you can see ridges in it. This is a drawing I did and printed on transparency film. And it's really fun to print through and have different drawings. I've actually cut a mat to mask off the drawing and print the center, then put the center of the mat in there, and then print. I've done all kinds of things to achieve different looks with it. But it's pretty fun to bring the computer into the darkroom. It's really fun. I have a Mamiya 645, and I occasionally use it. Since this digital thing's happened, I use that more, but the Mamiya is a blast to some portrait work and all, but I finally bought a couple different enlargers so I can just leave that set up. I also have an old C3 2¼ and so the enlargers are set up, whatever neg I want to use, I just can go through it without any problem. And I actually have used the enlargers too, just in 35mm, done a series of printing steps in doing some multiple exposures to papers. But now I use Photoshop. But what it's allowed me is to work on a screen and figure problems out, but then go back in the darkroom and be able to print exactly what I wanted to get or go where I wanted to go, because I had experimented on the computer first. And then I've actually created drawings on the computer and then gone in, well, I printed it on a transparency film on an Epson printer and then went to the darkroom and printed through the transparency an image through that. So it's like a circle. It's a continuum, and it grows. It's like it's never ending between darkroom digital work hand tinted work. It's just, it circumferences a whole lot of things. This piece is black and white, printed on just an RC paper, and I've scanned it in, and I'm working on Photoshop 7, and this was done through various filters and playing around, adding things, but it's fun to come up with a whole different piece. And what I find difficult is when you stop. It's just like some of the drawings I've done. It's like starting and where do you go with it? But I like to go in and sometimes put other color in it and whatnot. Well, I messed up this print and I didn't know how to fix it, and it's another discovery thing, and I ended up tinting the whole thing. And it was a digital printout on a matte surface paper, and I colored it, and then I ran upstairs real quick. Look at this, check this out, you know. And I started using pencils probably, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and it was a way to kind of play with the work and add what I want, do things what I want. I've had friends tease me, well, why don't you just shoot with color film? And it's like, well, I can't control anything that way. I have to have some kind of control in my life. Sometimes I know where I'm going with it, sometimes I don't. It's a lot of play, a lot of fun. Just to put color in. I don't really follow the lines. This summer I wanted to do something different, and I was painting and drawing, and I love pastel, and I thought, well, it'd be really fun to do something, and I started playing around, and I did this piece, and I thought, now how am I going to get a photograph in here somewhere, because when I enter shows, it's under photography. This is the piece that I've finished from that pastel drawing, and I've applied different filters and then painted with the history brush into certain spots, and then the floral imagery you're seeing was shot digital, and then I've just collaged with it and then put it in different spots. I'm always pursuing and searching for how to make photographs three-dimensional, either by adding color or, in this, the frame's about 2.5 inches deep, and it allows me to be able to take the strips of photos and actually bend them, and it's really fun to put things underneath. I've actually painted with acrylic a background and then done other photos inside. I've actually hidden a couple pieces of maps inside just for fun for me. And then after this was in place, I've used oil on the photographs. Actually this, I've used textured glass. I've printed through textured glass in the darkroom. I lay the glass right over the paper, so it leaves an image of the glass and my negative. From scanning a black and white of a cabbage, and then cutting and collaging, and then from this same image, I created this piece, which looks like a nut. It's fun to crop in and out of images, and this was shot with a digital camera on my kitchen counter. Here again you can see how I'm doing the border effect. It's just fun and exciting to look for different things to work with, and occasionally I'll alter a piece and change and paint in because I want lines to line up. This line, I wanted a continuum within that piece. And this edge right here didn't continue here, but I painted it in. And this piece originated from a black and white photograph of tulip leaves, and you can still see some evidence of the leaf here, but I've totally desaturated it. It was black and white, but I like to desaturate it throughout the process because I want real crisp blacks. And what I did was add with the white line drawing you're seeing, I would just do a drawing selection, invert it, and I just kept doing that, playing back and inverting back and forth. And I've added some shapes. But it's really fun to work with creating a whole new piece from an 8x10 glossy. huge. See, I've just done this printing with the Epson I've got, but this one, it's called Jester Leaves. It's funny because I've had people that I won't know what they want. They'll come over to look for something, and I'll think, oh, I better pull all the new stuff out. And I actually, this gal last spring, she, I have an extra bedroom where my mom stays when she visits, and all the old stuff's up there. So I said, well, come up here and take a look, see what you think. Fell in love with this one I did probably 8 years ago. I'm like, great, I knew there was a home for this piece. This is one of my favorite architectural pieces, and I did shoot a lot of different architecture, and you'd asked me earlier about do I play or cater towards what sells, and I wasn't selling a lot of architectural pieces, so I backed off from it and went to more organic things, but this has been a really strong piece of mine. The inspiration, I find it in everywhere I go, the light, the colors, shapes, lines. Nobody likes to travel with me because I'm stopping every 10 minutes. Being the wife comes first, being the mom is like first. They're tied. If I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't even have as much inspiration. I think it's a need part. Having Brent is one of the biggest parts of me being able to have my career and do things. And when we met, he went to school and I supported us because I had the full-time job. And then he finally got full-time work, and then we had our daughter, and it's been challenging to find the times, but my daughter Natalie has her own spot in every part of the studio. She plays along. She gets all the little pieces and all, but it's kind of a time organizing, and I stay up late at night a lot. There's a lot of, well, I used to only be able to print at night because of the darkroom was in the bathroom, and well, for 15 years it was always in the bathroom. So you had to print at night, and I'm so in tune to that it's been hard to think, oh, I can print during the day. Oh, Natalie's at school, I can go in there, and I don't think about it. I do it at night, but it's a really neat balance because Brent's more he's a scientific, analytical person, and supports what I do and helps me with displays and whatnot. And Natalie's always in there. The balance with having her with me in the studio is keeping her fingers busy with her set of her work and then my work. And she made slides last night. There were a little piece of paper that she'd drawn pictures on because I was selecting slides for a show I'm jurying for, and she wants to select her own slides too. It's pretty neat. Let's see, wait till you're about 30 to get married. That's what I did. And, well, I was established. So I think, well, actually, it just started to take off when he met, and I told him, I said, you know, this isn't a hobby. This is me, you know, and this is going to get real serious. I'm going to do this forever. So if you think you can put up with this, I think he did the first Art Fest with me, and I don't think he realized, but you know, he's disappointed sometimes because you know, we were in Seattle 2 weeks ago, and he went with me, and the sales weren't up to where he thought they should be, and I said, hey, you know, I'm doing pretty good considering there's 400 other people here, you know, and he sees me do a lot of work and work constantly. It's not a, I mean, if I had a studio somewhere else I could just close the door and, okay, I'm going to work, bye, see ya, and be there from 8 to 5 or whatever and come back. It's a pick it up and work on this piece for two hours, go cook dinner, do the bath, read stories, go to bed, then come back, okay, and then do a little bit more, and that's why doing the oils, you can do that. It's kind of fun to go back and mess around. That's, well, on both pencil and oils, I can do that, and it's probably a good artistic profession for me with this, because I can come and go as I want with it and work in stages with things. But it's learning how to work in blocks of time, short blocks of time, and planning. And that's probably why the part where, I don't fit that mold of the artist. I don't fit the mold of the photographer. I don't know. It's I'm really bad technically on keeping track of, oh, how did I shoot that? Ooh, I don't know. I'm going to make it a piece of artwork, and I'm not going to worry about how I did it, because it doesn't matter to me, because I'm not into worrying about reproducing it, reproduction of it. It's like it could be just one piece. That's fine with me. Trying to make a career of being an artist, there's a lot of things along the way. I mean, I didn't just take some pictures and print them and somebody bought them. It's taken years of trying to find places that people will buy them, and when I look back the last 20 years, thinking of all the jobs I've had, making a couple of decisions that helped me progress with my work, and one of them was working at a gallery and becoming a picture framer and being able to learn how to present my work the way I wanted to and be able to afford it, to learn and know how to do it right. It made a big difference on being able to show the work. And money is always an issue with it, and it's something that, I have friends that stopped doing their artwork because of the money. They got real jobs, if you call that, got a real job. And, it's like I'm finally trying to realize this is a real job. I have a real job. I make real money. I've never had a phobia towards messing around with anything, to see beyond, but I'm constantly looking, not just to take photographs, but looking at photographs, looking at other people's works, going to galleries, looking at everything, not just photographs, not just paintings, sculpture, seeing everything there is to see, and applying some of it to the work. But take a piece, take a piece, and if you see that you don't like parts of it, cut it out, get rid of it, put something that you think's better behind it, or put something over it. Try a red line through that gray area that's so flat. I think it's a process of discovery and experimenting with it, and you may not have a goal in mind. I have piles of photographs that are not finished, and things I practice on, and works that will never be finished. They're things that, it stems from an art background to where you don't frame everything. You have piles of things that are ongoing, and occasionally one little gem will pop out, and that'll be the one you'll go with, and then you'll pursue towards that. But get a package of pencils, buy a couple tubes of oil, just try it out, and not necessarily print towards thinking that. Just take the photographs that maybe were some that you didn't think you were going to go anywhere with it, and maybe make something with those. The collage work started, I had a commitment to fulfill a show, and they wanted 24 pieces, and I had a good group of work. It was all black and white, but I felt that looking at it together as a body of work wasn't strong enough, so I put everything out, and I kept aside strong pieces, but I only had about 18 pieces, and I thought, I don't like these other pieces. What am I going to do with it? So I cut out the bad parts. I just took the photographs, and you have your negative. You can print as many as you want, even if you work for hours on getting that print. It was fun to play with it, and I knew there's nothing to lose. I've got to come up with a strong body of work here, and so one of my professors told me, he said, you've booked this show, you need to show up with 24 pieces, you need to print probably twice that many, and pick the best out of that. And I was nowhere near the level of what I needed, so I started cutting things out, adding other photos behind it, doing a strip of color with it, and then I looked at the ones I thought were going to be strong, and I thought, oh no, I started a whole nother thing. But I ended up being able to show the work where things started, and then a progression of a whole new exciting start to another part of my work, always based in photography. But it's kind of fun. It is scary, but it's really fun. You get the knife out and start cutting things up, and then putting them back together a whole different way. And then purposely going back to the darkroom to print things differently, because I want to overexpose or underexpose, add a different layer to a collage. So I'll go back to the darkroom and print other prints to go with what I've already done. Part of the work when it sells is because I'm telling them, or I get all excited and show them, this came from this, and look at this, and see how this went, and look at this color. And so I'm totally into this, and then they stand back and go, oh, that's cool. And then I think they occasionally get a grasp for time. And a lot of times, if I get to be at a show, I have works with me and pencils with me. And I give a pencil to them, and I say, go ahead, give it a try, and so they get to put a few marks on it, and they realize I'm going to tint this whole thing, and they've just did this little part, and it gives them a feel for, oh, okay, they see the time involved and appreciate and understand why it may be a little bit higher price tag on it. A couple of close friends that are photographers, and we always share ideas off of each other, and I learn from them, and I think they always go away with a different idea of looking at things differently. That's what's so neat about photography, is that everybody can do it. It's just always the results are always so unique between everyone. It's pretty fun to go to places, to Cozumel, and I went to LA, and it was fun, but they were mostly vacationing spots to go do things. But I was always shooting, to look for things. But there's stuff in the backyard. I mean, I can go walk around the block and shoot a few rolls of film and come up with material for the next month. And it's something where any street, looking at lines and everything, looking at everything and thinking of a possibility, what to do with it. Oh, I know. I need to look like an artist. Let's see, I don't have any tattoos. I know. Well, I treasure my body as much as I treasure making artwork, and I want to be here for a long time, so I don't smoke and I don't drink, and I occasionally like a gin and tonic.